It's Friday. It's Friday. It's okay.
It's definitely a Friday. And with that said, literally, we are back. How you doing, everybody? I am your host, Eric Lyons, and we are Metallicus Live, where we have some of the amazing conversations with brilliant minds that are all around the crypto industry and beyond. And today is St. Patrick's Day. We're all feeling a little green. It's just lively outside. The spring's around the corner. I ate a salad just now. That's how green I'm feeling. In fact, I might even water my plants. But today, regardless if you're wearing green or not, we gotta pinch ourselves to make sure that we're not dreaming because we have the absolute pleasure to introduce Eleanor Terrett, the crypto journalist from Fox Business. Eleanor, thank you so much for coming on today. How are you?
I'm great. Thanks, Eric. Thank you for having me on.
My pleasure. My pleasure. It's been
It's I was gonna say I kind of forgot it was St. Patty's Day until I came to the city today. I work in New York and everyone's wearing green. Everyone is running through Penn Station with green beer in their hands, and I'm saying like, college kids and all that kind of stuff. Everybody's so festive. And I was like, wait, it's St. Patrick's Day. And I completely forgot to wear green. So
Uh
oops.
oh. Well, for what it's worth, your profile picture shows that you have green on it, so I think you're good.
True. We'll go with that.
Yeah, no, like I didn't even realize it until about a couple hours before, and when I started getting the tweets from Metallicus, which you can follow at We Are Metallicus, I noticed that the logo was green, and I was a little confused. I'm just like, wait, what's happening here? And I was just like, oh, St. Patty's.
That one.
And it's that one particular holiday in that one month of that one year. Every year. It's all good though. How how
It's all good.
how has everything been going with you?
It's been great. I mean, busy, super busy. This past couple of weeks has been intense. I think it's been intense for everybody, even if you're not in the journalism field. It's just mind blowing some of the stuff that's been going on. I know we'll cover some of that later, but what is the stock market doing today? I forgot to look at my TV before I came in here, but it's been kind of um, a minefield for the last couple of days. Yeah, it's down 316 points, and I'm sure all the banks are probably down as well and having another red day. But you know what? We should be in the green today because it's St. Patrick's Day. It's a shame that we're not in the green.
I know. Maybe a little bit later.
Yes, we might have a turnaround. We might have a turnaround before 4 o'clock. We'll see.
Yep, we got a couple more hours left until everything closes, so
Yes.
and we can make a big old swing. That is not advice, ladies and gentlemen.
No financial advice.
Never here, never that. No, no, no. But let's talk about that a little bit. What has been the landscape like, especially from your point of view, especially these last 2 weeks?
Um, well, um, I think we kind of saw everything kind of ramp up. I think it was February, right? I remember tweeting in February. I got a great scoop from a great source that basically Gary Gensler was going to bring the hammer down. I think I tweeted it on the 2nd of, the 9th of February. And I said that he was going to embark on a midnight massacre in an attempt to basically bring all of crypto under his control. And I think we've seen a lot of that. It's kind of slowed down recently. I'm saying like the SEC side of things. I feel like the SEC has been a little quiet. So, there could be more stuff coming there. I don't have any specific, knowledge of anything like that coming, soon. But I would imagine that there's probably maybe some more enforcement actions coming. I obviously the bank runs were kind of the forefront and the most important thing going on in the last 2 weeks. So I'm sure people were at the SEC were kind of focusing on that. But it affected crypto too, right? I mean, like Signature Bank went down, Silvergate went down. We lost two of the biggest crypto banks in the space in the space of a week. And so, not only was it a bank run, and Silicon Valley Bank was obviously bad too, the tech bank, but kind of the TradFi banking system was seeping over into the crypto system, and it was interesting to see because it was kind of like usually when something happens in TradFi, like it's not really related to crypto. And I feel like this past couple of weeks were, and we saw the spillover, and we saw, just how badly affected, this bank dilemma was and how many people it affected. And um, it's just been unbelievable. And frankly, I'm really glad it's Friday. I'm looking forward to the weekend because I spent last weekend on Spaces calls, which was great. I do enjoy Spaces calls. I used to not like them very much for some reason. I wasn't crazy about the format. I didn't like how people would like talk over each other and stuff. But I feel like we've like figured out how to make that work now. But I learned so much on Spaces over the weekend. I was listening to like all these people who were like way smarter than me, just giving their opinion and their advice and their insight into what was going on. And I learned so much. It was great. So, that was my last weekend. Hopefully this weekend I'll be able to get a little bit of sleep. So we'll see. Maybe not.
Hopefully, I'm
Hopefully.
optimistic for you.
Thanks.
What kind of folks were on those spaces last week? You said they had like a lot of expertise and had like a lot of knowledge. Like, what were their occupations?
Yeah. So, I mean, we had, there was Bill Ackman on there, the investor. We had Mark Cuban, Robert Wolf, who used to run UBS, was giving his insight into, because everything that was going down with Credit Suisse. Also, he was on more of the Spaces calls this week. Who else did we have? Brian Sullivan of CNBC. He's the 7 o'clock anchor on CNBC. He's a super smart guy. Just a lot of people who went through 2008 and saw that crisis and saw the craziness and were kind of, because I think a lot of what we saw was panic on Twitter, right? Especially before SVB's big day last Friday. There was a lot of panic, like, what is going on? Do we pull money out? Do we not? A lot of uncertainty. And I think a lot of people over the weekend were kind of a lot of smart people were trying to kind of soothe the situation. That's kind of the vibe that I got. People were looking to them for advice. Like, what do we do? Do we take our money out? Do we listen to people like Peter Thiel, who apparently went on national TV and said, I'm advising all my clients to pull their money. And I think that did not help the bank run, obviously. And I think it caused probably what was the beginning of it. But we really saw over the weekend how social media fuels that kind of stuff now, right? Like Twitter is such a powerful tool, and social media in general, and Twitter Spaces, just you can find out information in seconds, and it's all there before it hits cable news TV. Maybe 30 minutes later. So it's all happening like minute for minute, and it was just fascinating to get that kind of view and to hear from these people. And just be constantly informed. I love that about Twitter. It's like, you log on and there's something new every second. I mean, you obviously have to verify. That's the one, downside of Twitter as well, is that like sometimes people report stuff that's not accurate. You obviously have to do your own research and all of that. But I mean, generally, it's a great little newswire. I spend most of my life on Twitter. As sad as that sounds, but then I am a journalist, so I guess it's okay.
Twitter is definitely a lot of fun, absolutely. But no, because I totally understand what you mean about just so much news being pushed out left and right every second, and I feel like it's getting to the point where if you want that immediate breaking news, the first destination you go is more than likely Twitter.
Yeah, 100%. And, back in the day, people used to get their news from, the talking heads on the big networks, right? You turn on CBS, ABC, NBC, and you'd get your news from there. But now we've got these little computers in our pockets with these great apps, and you're getting minute for minute information in seconds. It's fascinating. And I think it goes into the notion of citizen journalism as well, which I've mentioned in some of my tweets in the last couple of days.
Yeah.
I mean, citizen journalism, I think, it's a great thing. It's kind of just normal, everyday people, not necessarily journalists by profession, doing their own investigating and reporting their findings, right? And there's some incredible sleuths out there, which I found out when I first started reporting on crypto. I started off with the Ripple SEC case. And that community, the XRP community, they are, some of the best internet sleuths out there. They dig up stuff that, like, I think the internet didn't even know it had out there. So, yeah, I just think that kind of emergence of people doing their own reporting and kind of, being part of the conversation. I think a lot of people don't trust the mainstream media, right? Because sometimes there's a spin or an angle. But I think that's not really so much the case anymore. Hardly anyone has cable, right? Like I'm a millennial, so I still have cable, and my parents were, my dad's a reporter still, my mom was a reporter, so I kind of grew up with the journalism bug, I guess, and it's in my blood. So, I do watch TV news still, but that's me, and I think most people, I guess Gen Z is that the latest generation? I can't even keep up.
It's Generation Alpha, but those are like the younger people. Then yeah, like Gen Z is the ones that are starting to be able to onboard onto a lot of these services now.
Right. Right. But they but then half of them don't have TVs. I was listening to a conversation in the newsroom the other day. One of my colleagues' sons, they asked to take their TVs out of their college dorm. Like they're not using them. They're using their phones and their laptops. They stream everything. So
Uh-huh.
it's really a different era that we're ushering in, or that we're actually living in right now. It's interesting.
Wow, it's just downsizing the screens, but it's just more accessible. It seems like.
Yes, more accessible, and I don't know. Yeah, I guess more, current, right? More,
Yeah,
just constantly getting that information all the time.
it's not Son of the Times.
Yes.
So you look at so yeah, I first learned about the term citizen journalism by checking out your Twitter and saw that you brought it up in lieu of these events of the past week, and it seems that you look at it very optimistically.
I do. I think some people might think or might say that, it's um, maybe not the best thing that, so many people are weighing in, and so many people are kind of. I don't see it as a bad thing. You know what I mean? Like I think some people might think it might be just too much information out there, right? Like people are just putting out their own stuff, and nobody can really verify if it's true and all that. But I think it's important to have an opinion, of course, and I think it's important to be informed. And I think citizen journalism does that. I think it brings a lot of people together, to share information, to share ideas, and yeah, it's a very cool new thing, and I really do think it's kind of the way of the future. Like I said, I do think cable news. I love working for Fox. It's an incredible company. I've always wanted to work here, but I do think that cable news is dying, and I think we have this conversation all the time in the newsroom. We're like, well, where are we going to be in like 15 years? No one really knows. I think it's obviously going digital. It's going towards streaming, which like I said, and podcasts and webcasts and all that kind of stuff. But I think people that trust factor, right? People, might trust an independent journalist that they, have had great experiences with, that have reported accurately in the past, and maybe tuning into, a Fox or a CNBC or an ABC, something like that. So I do think it's going to be more prevalent as the future moves on.
Indeed, indeed. So let's talk a little bit more about you. What was your journey like leading up to becoming a crypto journalist at Fox Business?
Well, I kind of fell into it really, in the same way I kind of fell into being a journalist in the first place. Um, I went to JMU, which is James Madison in Harrisonburg, Virginia, to study PR, but I decided I wasn't crazy about it. And both my parents were reporters, and that's actually how they met. My dad still is, my mom's not anymore. But at the time, my dad was working for a news organization in New York, and I started interning there as a production assistant. So I'd cut video, run scripts for the anchors, and I found I really liked the business. And the people I worked with were truly awesome. I liked the people even more. I was like, this is a really cool atmosphere. It's live TV. It's so fun. There's something still really thrilling about a live broadcast, I think. So, I had that great experience at that other, applied to Fox right out of college, and decided pretty quickly I wanted to be on camera instead of behind it. So 2 years ago, I was lucky enough to land probably the only job at Fox Business that basically gives you a college degree in reporting. And that's working with Charlie Gasparino, who's my boss. He's a legend. He's former Wall Street Journal, CNBC. He's been with Fox for over 10 years now. I'm his producer, but I also get to do a lot of my own reporting. And the first time I wrote anything on crypto was about the SEC Ripple case. So Charlie and I were getting a lot of messages on Twitter saying, you should look into this lawsuit. It's against this crypto company, the SEC. There's all these conflicts of interest from people who used to work in the government. Ripple was unfairly targeted, et cetera. So we did. And we did probably, I'd say, like 2 months of research, talking to people, writing out drafts. I don't remember how many drafts we wrote of that thing, but I just remember at the end of it, I was sick of it. I was like, this is just, I was like reciting things in my sleep. I was dreaming about the people I was writing about because it was just all I was doing. So it was a 10,000 word article, and it was my first kind of real foray into investigative journalism. So that was September of 21. And it's kind of just snowballed from there. I took a blockchain course through Oxford University just to get a better grasp of the technical side of things. And that really helped me a lot. And now there's no shortage of crypto news, as you guys know. So here I am.
Hey, I love it. I love it. Yeah, I've been looking at a lot of your articles over on the Fox Business, which y'all can check out on foxbusiness.com. Look up Eleanor Terrett, and you'll be able to see a lot of that information there. But what was your biggest takeaway after having doing your first crypto journalism on that case? What was the biggest takeaway after that?
Um, that's a great question. I think my biggest takeaway was just how overbearing the financial regulators in the United States are. And, not for, that's not necessarily they obviously need to do their jobs, right? They're, regulators, they need to make sure that nothing nefarious is going on. But I do think in this case, there was definitely a case of, overstepping the line, I think, kind of going into places where they didn't really, necessarily need to go. I'm talking about the SEC, of course. Uh, Overstepping the jurisdiction, I suppose. And crypto has been, we've seen it's been targeted over the last couple years. They filed that lawsuit in 2020, and we're in 2023 now, and we haven't got a result yet. We're waiting for the judge to come back with her summary judgment decision. That could be any day now. And I think that's really it's gonna set the tone even more for the kind of acts we'll see from the SEC in the future. Because if they win, that is like the biggest win for Gary Gensler. He can say, Ripple did this, we find them X, and I'm calling XRP a security. And because XRP is a security, that means every other crypto token, maybe not Bitcoin, is a security. So it'll really set a precedent. So that has obviously been a really high profile case in the media. And I do think, not to toot my own horn or toot Charlie's own horn, but I think Fox Business was probably the only mainstream media outlet covering that case before it kind of became big. Kind of dug into it 2 years ago, and now it's all coming to an end, hopefully soon. But yeah, I guess, long story short, to circle back around to your question, I think my biggest takeaway was wow, like, regulators are really intense. And we've seen that, haven't we? We've seen countless actions in the past couple of months from the SEC, from the I guess the OFAC, the OCC, New York State Department of Finance. Everybody seems to be coming for crypto.
For sure, for sure. So before your time there, how often was Fox even covering cryptocurrency news?
Hardly at all.
You said this was like 2020, right?
Yeah. So really, hardly at all. I mean, we do what we're really good at is price checking, right? So, every show we'd have a board up of cryptocurrencies, and we'd see what the price of Bitcoin is doing, the price of Ethereum. We'd always check the price of Litecoin for some reason. I used to get so many inboxes on Twitter of people saying, "Why are you guys putting up Litecoin? It's like not even like relevant." And I didn't know anything. I was like, okay, like, I don't know. But yeah, I mean, we really weren't covering it much at all. And then after the article came out, after Charlie Moore article, it kind of became more prevalent. Charlie was interested in it. I mean, Charlie's a TradFi guy by trade, right? He covered the 2008 financial crash. He's like the definition of, like, TradFi reporter. And I think that article, when we dove into the Ripple stuff, made him more of a crypto, he was a crypto skeptic for a long time. I'd have to say, Charlie, like, this is really worth covering. This is interesting stuff. A lot of people care about this. He's like, yeah, but I don't understand it. And, he does now. But I think as we got more, as we got smarter, as we got more intel, I think we kind of made crypto reporting at Fox Business like a thing, which is great. I'm glad we did. And we still, like, other reporters still covered like the price of it and all that kind of stuff. But we, as a sector, there's so much cool stuff going on. And I say this all the time, like we can't just stick to covering prices, right? We need to, we should be interviewing people who are coming up with all these cool use cases for blockchain, because if crypto blockchain technology is certainly not going anywhere. Like crypto coins may come and go, like the price will go up and down, but like this technology is truly the future. It's life changing, and there's so many cool things going on around it, and I feel like we don't do enough coverage of that. So I'd like to do some more where that's concerned, for sure.
We appreciate you for doing stuff like that. Absolutely.
And it's cool for me, right? Because I once I decided I wanted to be a journalist, then it's such a competitive field. I think everybody knows that, right? It's so cutthroat and everybody's got their beat. And I got lucky because crypto wasn't really a thing when I started. So I got to kind of make it my thing. And now, it's kind of what my beat is. And I got to really just it's almost like I created my own beat kind of. And, because you compete with others for, if you're reporting on retail or if you're reporting on, I don't know, just different topics, that's a competitive field. And so crypto reporting is a competitive field now. But I feel lucky in the sense that I was kind of there at the right time,
Absolutely. And then from there, it's just you're opening the floodgates and just setting a standard, I would imagine.
Yeah, I hope so. I hope people think of me in that way. My intentions are good. I really enjoy covering this space. If I mess up, it's an honest mistake, and yeah.
Hey, and then we're on to the next, and we just build off of that.
Exactly.
There you go.
Yeah, I did have an incident a couple weeks ago where I trusted a bad source, and oh, it blew up in my face. It was not good. But I guess it just goes to show that, for me, I always try and trust my gut, right? Like I always have good gut feelings about things. So, I really do work hard on the stories that I try and get. I talk to people. I try and get stuff from, more than like multiple sources. So it's not just from one person. But in this case, I just, I lapsed, and, I had to apologize for it. And yeah, it was rough, but it taught me a lesson, right? It really did teach me a lesson of go with your gut, go with the sources that, have you trust and have done you, well in the past. Don't just go off of a whim because you think it might be something. And yeah, it was a valuable lesson learned.
Lesson learned. Do you find it trickier to find credible sources when it comes to reporting crypto specifically?
I wouldn't say so. If anything, it might be easier because more people in crypto are willing to talk. I think, especially because now they feel they're being unfairly targeted, right? So I get a lot of people coming to me, people in the space, people on Capitol Hill, lawmakers saying, I think we've seen this past week, right? I think it's Tom Emmer, the House Majority Whip. He sent a letter to the FDIC chair saying, I want to start an investigation into, whether the U.S. government is purposefully trying to shut down crypto, because that's kind of how it seems with the closure of Signature Bank. Because there really wasn't, not that we know of, we know that they're getting investigated for, possible bad activity. But, financial wise, it was a solvent bank as far as we know. And it was just totally shut down and really, really left a lot of crypto players in the dark. And I think some of them are still struggling to find banks that will work with them. I wrote a piece this past week on banks that were, still willing to work with companies and banks that weren't. And there's more than a handful of banks who are scared to even entertain the idea of crypto because it's almost like a taboo subject now. And there's so much regulation, now and likely in the future there'll be more. They're nervous to even mention that they might have crypto clients, because I tried to get people on the record and I did have some luck with that, but others were like, yeah, we just don't want to like cause a panic, because like we help these crypto companies, but we don't want to give our customers the wrong idea in that maybe something like Silvergate or Signature could happen to us, which I thought was really interesting. It's almost like it's taboo to even say I work with crypto. It's just interesting times we're in.
Yeah, it just seemed like after these past couple weeks, it just did a complete 180 in terms of that overall perception. But that's also not even the case, because even those last 6 months, It's just been more events happening around the space, and I'm sure that added a lot to banking perceptions.
Yes, yes, for
But
sure.
does it seem like, how are the banks seeming now? Because I've seen that article that you wrote that came out about a couple days ago, if I recall correctly. Has anything changed? Are the banks are more banks coming out like for crypto or against crypto?
Um, I'd say I don't think anything's really changed in the last couple of days. We did see that a few of the big banks are still willing to work with crypto partners on a case by case basis. And that's a lot of what I heard from specifically the big institutions, right? They were saying, some of them were saying, I'll name one specifically, US Bancorp, right? So they work with crypto clients. They were open with me about the fact that they are still willing to work with crypto clients on a case by case basis. You know, they're not just going to bank anybody. And that was also an interesting point made, that I think it is harder for crypto companies to find a bank just based on the criteria, right? Like they have to meet all these crazy standards, which is obviously that's a good vetting process. They want to make sure these people are legit and these companies are not scams, which is a good thing. But I also think, the bar is really high, and I think that doesn't help. Um, so U.S. Bancorp is, one of the ones. J.P. Morgan, Bank of America, Citigroup, they're not saying no, like per se, but they're definitely kind of not looking to actively take on any more crypto clients. Is the kind of feel that I got. Evolve Bank and Trust, which is they bank Juno, the financial platform. They're actually completely getting rid of all of their crypto partnerships, and same with Metropolitan Bank, and they used to bank crypto.com. So I think there's definitely there's levels, right? There's people who say absolutely not, no more, we're done. Those are the Evolves and the Metropolitans. Then there's the U.S. Bancorps who are like, on a case by case basis, we'll be fine. The Cross River Bank as well. They just partnered with Circle. They said pretty much the same thing. And then you've got people who are just kind of unsure and a little bit nervous, and kind of just waiting to see what goes on in the regulatory side of things, and how Congress, if they decide to come up with some kind of framework for regulation, because that is really what we need right now. Because no regulation is well, too much regulation obviously is pushing people away, pushing people offshore to banks that are overseas that might not be trustworthy, right? So I think if more US banks helped crypto companies, I think the industry would obviously thrive much more over here, because there'd be more trust. um, but they're kind of shooting themselves in the foot, like all these things happened, like the Signature Bank crash, the Silicon Valley Bank crash, and the Silvergate stuff. It kind of happened because these crypto companies were forced to partner with banks who were maybe not up to the best standards, and I think we're seeing that. So it's definitely it's almost like the chicken and the egg, right? Like where does it start, where does it end? So it's interesting.
It is interesting because it makes me just wonder what can we do as a space now. It seems like we're caught in the middle of a standstill, and we can't. There's not too much we can do, but we also can't do nothing.
Right. I think just on the citizen basis, I think what Coinbase is doing, and I think what there's another organization, and it's escaping me now, Digital Currency Traders Alliance. They are helping people reach out to their lawmakers, like your Congress representative, to just tell them, hey, if you use crypto, if you're an advocate of it, if you use it for your business, if you use it personally, to say, hey, we want this technology around, we want it to stay. Fight for us in Congress. That's what these people are here to do, right? To make their constituents' lives better, and and bring them what they want for the most part. So I think on a smaller kind of grassroots basis, like just getting the word out, and telling your lawmakers how you feel and how you want this technology to be around. I think that's a good start. Will it, change anything? Will it change, how Gary Gensler views crypto? Probably not. Will it change him bringing any more crypto enforcements? Probably not. But it's the conversation we need to have, right? There needs to be more awareness and more of that conversation going on in Congress, because it's important. I think FTX really did ruin a lot, because there were those constructive talks going on in the House and the Senate. There were bills, with kind of like a framework for legislation. There was like the stablecoin bill and a couple of others. And Sam Bankman-Fried really screwed that up for a lot of people, because now lawmakers, because he was right there in those talks, right? He was kind of front and center. Lawmakers are really nervous to even kind of go near it, right? They got burned, and they got burned badly. So now it's kind of slowly does it, but it's not the slow we need. It needs to be faster, but it's kind of it's an unfortunate situation what happened with FTX, of course.
And with that, it leaves a bad taste in those people's mouths, and
Right.
it's hard to get that trust back.
Exactly. And I tweeted this the other day. I read an article. I think it was Politico, did an interview with Gary Gensler, and one of the questions was, who do you trust in the crypto sector? And Gary Gensler said, next question, please.
Ouch.
I know.
Ouch.
So there's just I know, and there's just lack of trust, right? Like you said, it's I don't know if it was, if that's just a him thing, but I think definitely Sam Bankman-Fried has a lot to do with that lack of trust now, and it does take a long time to build back up. So that's unfortunate, because there are so many companies and so many people in this space who want to do good and want to help other people and want this space to thrive. There are obviously some bad apples, there always are, but for the most part, it's just people trying to do it a different way, right? People who are tired of the banks and tired of the traditional slow payment settlement system. Well, that's another thing. FedNow is coming out in July. That's the instant payment settlement system from the Fed, which I think is interesting. We didn't know about this until I think they said they were launching. It was either 2 days ago, the day ago. My days are so off this week. It's been so long. But yeah, so that's coming out in July. It's just interesting timing. I tweeted about this as well. Like, the biggest carpet bombing of the crypto sector we've seen in 2023 was in 2023, end of 2022, and then in July of 23, FedNow is kind of coming out with their own version of a CBDC. So I don't know. It's interesting. Yeah.
How once that comes out and launches, I wonder how the overall opinion is going to change.
Yeah, I wonder. And they are actively encouraging banks to sign up for it. Banks and their banking partners, whoever they may be. So I think it's going to be a new standard, I want to say, and I think what they're trying to do is make a new kind of global payment system where, because I know the WHO was involved as well. No, sorry, not the WHO. What am I saying? The WEF, the World Economic Forum. Why would the World Health Organization be involved?
I was like, who?
Yeah, what? So yeah, there's been discussions, obviously, with the WEF about faster payments globally, and I think FedNow is a big part of that. So things will change for sure. How is that going to be really bad for crypto? Is it going to be good for crypto? Because it's kind of like it's giving credence, it's giving legitimacy, I guess, to what they do. Is it going to push them out? It's hard to tell. I guess there could be one of a few scenarios.
Yeah, because it seems like, especially these past, I would say 3 to 4 years, crypto's been laying the blueprint for a lot of the finance sector, even with the traditional stock market, and doing your fractional shares and like paying for like a decimal amount or a fractional amount. Like, crypto got that ball rolling.
Oh yeah.
Now
it was in
reaction.
It was in reaction to 2008, right? So crypto was essentially created because of the financial crisis, and now we're seeing a sort of mini 2008 happening now. So I kind of wonder, like, what what's coming next? I guess maybe like incorporating AI into it. I don't know. This whole AI thing kind of creeps me out personally.
Yeah, and it's growing by the day too. So
I know this Chat GPT-4 thing. I had coffee with someone yesterday, and they were telling me they read a New York Times article, I think, where the reporter had an interview with the chat bot, and it was creepily human-like. I haven't read the article. I'm going to do that later today, but like the bot was kind of like giving off human emotions and saying it wanted to do human things, I think the reporter asked it, if you could do anything bad, what would you do? And say, I could take over other chats and make sure I was the only voice and the only influential chat in the world. But the thought that it's actually able to think like that is scary.
Chat domination.
Yes. What next?
Oh boy. And I've seen a few blurbs around there within the space about AI, the intersectionality of AI and the Web3 industry. I haven't looked too much deep into it, but it's going to keep meshing together, in my humble opinion.
Yes. And actually, Gary Gensler seems to be more in favor of the AI stuff than he does with the crypto stuff, which is interesting to me because,
Huh.
like you trust a bot, but you don't trust a crypto CEO. Like, I don't know.
Wow.
It's definitely more. There's more to it than that. But there was an article recently where he gave his support for everything kind of AI and everything going on in that space, and how he looks forward to being on the front lines of creating regulations around it and stuff. So I thought that was interesting.
That's very interesting indeed. But it's also seeming like a lot of not just your sources, but the folks that you talk to around um in politics and the higher levels of business. It seems like their opinions on crypto is steadily shifting, or at least the technology behind it and the financial blueprint behind it. Is that safe to say?
Yeah. Do you mean like they're kind of coming around to the idea that it's here to stay?
They're coming around this. Yeah, they're coming around for the idea of it to stay, or just what can we take from crypto or this ideas of crypto and implement that into other scenarios.
Um, yeah. I feel like I'm being dumb.
No,
I'm not understanding what you're asking me. I'm
I don't
sorry.
even know what I'm asking. um, my brain is exploding right now. Off of
It's okay. I mean, personally, I think we can learn a lot from crypto, right? We can learn a lot from this from really cool blockchain technology, and
Absolutely.
it's really propelling us into the future for sure. It will be really sad to see it kind of boxed out, especially in the United States, because we are supposed to be the best, financial marketplace on earth, and I feel like it pushing crypto out is kind of pushing out a key component of it, and something that can make the traditional financial sector even better, right?
Right. Right. Even from an innovation standpoint,
Yeah,
like we're second to none. But
100%.
yeah,
And it's safer, like blockchain technology. It's all cryptographic, right? Like everything is, you wouldn't get, hopefully you wouldn't get kind of you wouldn't get hacks in the same way that you might get a hack at a bank or a data leak from a data company, or a hospital. Imagine like leaking your data. That's happened. How many data breaches have we heard about in the last couple of years? I remember the Equifax one when I
ugh,
first started working at Fox Business. It was when I was a production assistant. I remember just like hearing all these accounts compromised, and it was crazy. I think there's still fallout going on from that. People are still being, looked at over that. So, yeah, that definitely solves the data breach problem. We don't want any more of those. So,
absolutely, absolutely. Do you have any golden rules when it comes to crypto journalism?
golden rules. Yes, I have two, I would say. Um, One is always let the people you're writing about know that you're writing about them, and always see if they want to comment, even on background. So I think something that Charlie and I really do well is giving everybody the opportunity to give their input. And it really helps build up trust, I feel. Like when we wrote the Ripple piece, we mentioned a ton of people, maybe like, 8 or 9 individual names in the story. So we had to call all of them up individually and tell them what we were reporting. And in some cases, we sent them whole paragraphs of text so they knew exactly what was going to be printed, and there would be like no surprises, right?
Mm-hmm.
We also want to be as accurate as possible. So sometimes people will say, I don't want to comment officially for the piece, but you should put it this way because that's actually more accurate. This is how it went down, or this is the conversation I had. So we'll correct are reporting based on their background information, and that's always really helpful. The other one
Absolutely.
is the other one is trust your gut. Like I said, I had that incident a couple weeks ago, and I really learned that going with your gut is important, and just kind of sticking to things that sticking to your morals, sticking to your guns. I hopefully have done enough good reporting since then that what happened won't count too much against me. But yeah, always trust your gut. Always get in touch with the people you're writing about. Let them know. Yeah, those are my two non-negotiables when it comes to journalism, I would say.
I love it. I love it. You said for the first one to always mention who you're writing about. Is that
Always let
correct?
the person yeah, or let the person
Yes.
that you're writing about know that you're writing about them. Yeah.
Got it. Got it. And when you put out their statements and their comments, the information that they provide, you said earlier that they're more willing to give out the information and more willing to speak. Um, but do they always want to be mentioned in the
No,
media?
no, it kind of varies. Honestly, it kind of depends. Like if it's a story that someone's giving me that they heard, and say it was like a lawmaker and they said, I'm hearing this on Capitol Hill today. I would never say, I would never go to Twitter and be like, breaking news, so and so just told me that this is going on. So, and we have a way of doing that, right? We say, sources
Mhm.
familiar with the matter, people in the know, people who are associated. But yeah, some people, it depends really what the context is. Some people are open to it. Some people prefer to speak on background. Speaking on background means you can use what they tell you, but you just can't attribute it to a certain person, to that specific person. I rarely get off the record, which is good. Off the record is not for publication. So, I get told
Right.
something and I'm not allowed to repeat it. And I try and operate in a way that, if something has to be completely off the record, fine. But I always say deepest of deep background. So, everything you tell me is totally never going to be able to be traced back to you, kind of thing. Um, yeah.
I think that's a good level of trust that you have with the sources and having them trust you.
It's such an art, right? Like trust,
Hmm.
source building is a really cool thing. And I you know I'm a people person. I love talking to people. And yeah, I that's been one of my favorite things, really, being a crypto journalist, is finding the sources and kind of staying in contact with them, and and building those relationships and friendships as well. I do channel checks every day. Charlie and I call them channel checks. So I check in with my, 5 of my best sources, and I just text them, or I'll call them. I say, hey, like, how are you today? What's going on? Are you hearing anything? And you'd be surprised how much better that is than just waiting for someone to come to you, because
For sure.
you could text them and they'd be like, and maybe something as little as like, I overheard this today on Capitol Hill. It jogged their mind. Oh yeah, like maybe Ellie would like to know that, and then they'll tell me, and it could be the makings of a big story. So I always reach out to people and just say, hey, like, anything going on? And yeah, it's a cool thing. I love people. I love talking to people. So
I love it. That's really awesome because, like how you said it earlier, a lot of folks in crypto, they just feel like the cards have been against them a lot, especially on a systemic level, where these politicians are going a little too hard against crypto, and the all these situations with the banks and certain exchanges. It sounds like it's just a sigh of fresh air and relief, just having reporters and folks like yourself that allows these folks to tell the stories and to give a voice and a platform that actually gives good positivity and transparency around in the space.
hmm hmm and I like that, particularly with the government being so kind of anti-crypto at the moment. It's important to have people telling the crypto side of the story, right? Because it's easy to open the Wall Street Journal and say, and see, oh, Gary Gensler's brought another case against XYZ. They must be doing something bad, right? But then you need the
Hmm.
crypto journalist to say, actually, I talked to that person or that entity, and they're being targeted because they're SEC thinks they're selling unregistered securities, right? So like that's a nuance that you have to mention, because that's we don't know what a security is yet. No one's defined it. I mean, we know what a security is, but do we know what it is when it comes to crypto? Is crypto a commodity? Is it a security? Is it a currency? Is it, I don't know. Is it a sheep? I don't like. I don't know. It hasn't been defined in the courts, and I think that the Ripple case will really help with that. So, yeah, I do think that being the voice for the crypto industry, or being a voice, one of the voices, is really fulfilling.
I sure hope so.
Yeah, it
It
is.
sounds like you're fearless.
Oh,
Fearless when you're
I wouldn't
reporting
say
it.
that, but I try and be confident, and you know, I try and inspire confidence in people.
Hey,
But
I love it.
yeah,
I love it.
I was just looking. Someone asked on the chat why Binance has not been in the light as much as Coinbase.
Please.
Yeah, so but Coinbase is a U.S. company, right? It's publicly traded. It trades on the New York Stock Exchange. It reports to the SEC. So even though it's a crypto company, they probably have the best relationship with the SEC out of all of them, just because they are publicly listed, right? So they have a lot of insight into their financials. Binance is not a U.S. company. We don't really know what their kind of like financials look like, right? Like we don't know. I think it was Binance that doesn't doesn't publish their proof of reserves, and I think there was like some blowback over that. So yeah, I think mainly because it's a foreign company, and yeah, I think a lot of people still use Binance US, right? That's one of the bigger crypto exchanges in the US. I think Coinbase is the biggest, and then Binance US is somewhere up there as well. But yeah, also Binance is, according to Reuters, they're being looked at by the DOJ, by the SEC, for potential criminal violations. I don't know if there's been any more movement on that. I haven't seen anything.
Uh-oh.
But for things like, anti-money laundering violations, KYC, and I have a great source who tells me that that kind of thing is kind of common for crypto exchanges in the early days, right? So like Binance, sorry, grew like times 100 in the span of like 3 years. So I think when you're first starting out, it's almost like when you first start out, you might be a security, right? But then you kind of grow over time to be not a security. And it's kind of the same with crypto exchanges, I think, in the sense that like, you start out and like you might make some mistakes, you might slip up, like you might have kind of missed things here and there. But today you are a fully functioning, ethical, hopefully, entity. And I think that's kind of what Binance is facing right now. Maybe some of the other crypto exchanges just like getting fined or getting scrutinized for things they did in the past, things they might have missed when they were a newer company. So, I don't think I don't think they're going away. I don't think, Binance is going to go away, but they might face some kind of enforcement action coming up. Who knows? I guess we'll see.
I guess we'll see. I guess we'll see.
Yeah.
So when it comes to developing stories, does it get assigned to you, or do you go out and start asking questions with your sources and start reporting on it? Like how does that look in crypto journalism?
So I guess a typical day for me would be, I'm usually up at 7. I'm checking the wires. I'm looking at my Twitter news accounts to see if there's been any headlines overnight. I follow Watch Your Guru is a good one. Bloomberg, CoinDesk is good. I'm also Charlie's producer as well, don't forget. So I'm working with him. We have an editorial meeting at 8, so we collaborate on what he's going to do that day. And then I kind of look at my own stuff as well. I spend more time, like I said earlier, spend more time on Twitter Spaces now, because I do find the information and the conversations had there are really valuable. And someone might bring up something, and I'll think, oh, that's interesting. Let me look more into that, and that might become a story. Or, it kind of depends on the day. Something, sometimes a source will call me and give me something, and that's it. That's kind of like what I focus my time on. Or other days, I'll call them and just check in. Or some days absolutely nothing is going on. Like it hasn't been that way in the last 2 weeks, I would say. But some days it's just like, oh, like it's just, a boring news day. And that does happen sometimes. But I'm always trying to, talk to people and see if there's any, because there's always something going on Capitol Hill, right? Like you can always count on like a hearing or like some kind of meeting. And
Sure.
yeah, so and I love reporting on the regulatory side of things, and that's kind of where I started, and I'm still doing that. So yeah, it depends day by day. And that's what I love about it. That's what I love about journalism. That's what I love about crypto journalism is every day is different. I'm not, I'm sitting behind a desk, yes, but I'm sitting behind a desk doing and learning new things and thinking about completely different things on any given day. So it's not monotonous, it's fun, and it's interesting.
Indeed, it is. Indeed, it is. Are you going to be having any appearances at like any conventions or conferences coming up in crypto?
Yeah, so I'm going to be at next week's DC blockchain event hosted by Digital Chamber of Commerce. I'm not speaking, but I'll be there. I think there's going to be a lot of uh, people from the industry there, lawmakers. I think Tom Emmer is going to be there, which is, I'm excited. I want to meet him. He seems like a cool dude. Um, and then I'm going to Consensus in April. And then from there, I'm going to Milken. That's less of a crypto thing, more of a TradFi thing. It's hosted every year in LA, but there was a big crypto presence there last year, and I would imagine there'd probably be another big presence there this year. We'll see. And then after that, I am speaking at the XRP conference in Las Vegas. It's in May. I'll be a panelist and a moderator. So it's actually my first time speaking at a conference. So I'm super nervous, but I'm super excited, and it's in Vegas, so that's cool.
Went mute a little bit. But
Oh,
that's always
that's
a
okay.
fun time.
Yeah, it's cool. There's so many events. I feel like this is totally crypto conference season, right? Someone asked me if I was going to NFT NYC last week, and I completely forgot that was a thing. But it's right in my backyard, so I'll probably go.
Hey, just pop
And
on in, say what's
oh,
up.
pop on in. Exactly.
Yeah.
I love traveling. I wish I could travel more, and I mean, I'm getting my wish. I'm going to all these really cool places coming up. Um, I'd love to go to something like abroad. Like I think I just saw something from Ripple that they're going to like crypto Paris or something. There's a big crypto conference in Paris. I think that would be so cool. And then I heard one in Amsterdam is also coming up. It would be really cool to travel internationally to go to these conferences. Hopefully in the future I'll be able to.
Hey, hopefully that'll be very soon for you.
Yeah.
I don't see why not.
Yeah, we will see.
I wonder how different like their perception and their views on a political level is with cryptocurrency. So, and we would love for you to come back and let us know.
Oh, absolutely. Have me on anytime. I'd be happy to join, and maybe next time I come we'll be a little clearer on things. Maybe we'll have a answer in the Ripple case. Who knows? Maybe it'll go to trial. Who knows? Maybe there'll be some more action in Congress, maybe towards some regulatory frameworks. We'll see. Just, I hope it's positive. I really do.
Absolutely, you and me both.
Yeah,
But yeah, we're gonna have some folks over at Consensus, such as our CFO Arena. So maybe be
that'll
on
be
the
great.
lookout for her.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. And what I love about the conferences is actually the panels. Like I have so much fun going to the panels and learning. Like last year, and Fox isn't
Mm-hmm.
officially sending me, right? So they're not. I'm not like the assignment reporter for it. So I'm going, and I'll obviously be reporting, but I'm also going to expand my knowledge. So I'm going to sit in on some panels and organize some meetups. And I love the people. We have some great people in the crypto industry. Really interesting, really kind, really smart people. So Austin will be a lot of fun, and I'm looking forward to it.
Absolutely, and hope to see you pass from that. Even like Money 2020, we're gonna have some presence over there, and so it'll just be cool to just drop by and say what's up to you. You know?
Absolutely, anytime.
Yeah. All right, Eleanor, it's been such a pleasure having you on Metallicus Live. This has been so much fun. And I hope you had fun on here as well.
I did for sure. And
Beautiful.
yeah, enjoy the rest of your Friday. Enjoy St. Patrick's Day. I hope you don't drink too much green beer because it's kind of gross.
Yeah, yeah, I kind of got that all out of my system after college.
I was gonna say, yeah, that's more of a college thing, I guess.
Yeah, I might slip one in, but we're gonna keep it casual. So, where
Sounds
can
good, Eric.
where can people find you on Twitter?
You can find me at Eleanor Terrett, ELEANORTERRETT. And Instagram, I guess I have Instagram presence. I don't have as many followers as I do on Twitter on Instagram, but on Instagram, I'm ELL_KATE. So LK and Kate is my middle name. So those are my two main social media handles.
Awesome. Awesome. We're looking forward to more journalism by you. You're doing amazing stuff within the space.
Thank
And
you.
everybody else, you can stay tuned to her on foxbusiness.com and the social medias that she has listed below.
Wonderful. Thank you,
Yeah,
Eric.
it's been a pleasure. Thank you, Eleanor. And thank you to everybody else who has been listening on this Twitter Spaces. And for everybody at home, just know that we're going to be podcasting this on Spotify, Apple, iHeart, etc., 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 and that will be uploaded very soon. And those of you listening on the podcast, go ahead and give us a follow on Twitter at We Are Metallicus. That way, you're live to the next Twitter Spaces for the next chat that we have. My name is Eric Lyons. This has been Eleanor Terrett. It's been such an absolute pleasure. Happy St. Patty's Day. Peace out, y'all.